Welcome to DasGeek. This is a video that, as the resident geek amongst my friends, as somebody who talks about privacy and security on the internet on Destination Linux podcast, on my own channel constantly. In fact, it's the sole reason which led me to Linux, which we'll get into in a moment. People always ask me, okay, well, I want to be private and I want to be more secure. I see all these articles coming out, but I don't want to have to become a computer geek to be able to do this. I don't want to have to walk around with a tinfoil hat. I still want to be able to communicate with my friends. So how do I do this? Now, who this video is not for are those who still have not figured out that, simple things like, oh, I don't put much on Facebook, so therefore I don't have anything to worry about. If you're still under that mindset, there are plenty of videos out there and plenty of articles that prove you wrong on that. Or I turn off my GPS settings on my Google phone, so therefore it can't track me. And we learned that doesn't quite work either because they're tracking you anyways. This is not for individuals who are still thinking that, well, I don't do anything wrong on the internet. It's like a quiz show. I feel like sometimes these same responses every time. And sometimes they're good-hearted individuals who just don't understand the fact that people are spending millions and millions of dollars on figuring out how to track your information, how to get your information. That's how important it is to them to get all of that data and put it all together. They're going to fingerprint you whether you're signing out every time or not. They're going to track you as long as you're hitting other sites with their logins, like Google logins, Facebook logins. Turning off your GPS isn't helping either. They're still tracking you. And I know there are people like, I don't have anything I've ever done wrong. Well, again, there are plenty of cases out there of people who've done nothing wrong, but have started to have bad effects from this. Not only people being mistaken identities on the internet that have had horrible consequences for individuals, people who have not gotten jobs because of information out there. And especially young kids need to be thinking about what they post out there, as well as credit companies and things denying people credit based on things that this data is providing. So it's already having an impact and it's only going to get worse. So as long as you're on that mindset, this video is for you. I'm going to give you some tips. You don't have to wear a tinfoil hat. This isn't really difficult stuff. In fact, it's really simple. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And once you have it all set up, you're done. You're done. And I started on the wrong page here for my items. So we're going to go through a bunch of tips here, just general tips. Now, there are other things you can do as well. There are things to make you even more secure. You could go on Tor networks. You could use things like Wannix and do all of this type of stuff. But that I still think is for more advanced people. We could just get people doing this stuff. If you could just do this basic stuff, then as you learn and start to realize how deep this rabbit hole goes, then you could start exploring other ways. But still, leave those in the comments below of other ways people can stay private. These are the suggestions and tips that I give most people who ask me this question. So first and foremost, Google was an amazing company when it came out, and it just blew all of our minds about, this company's giving us this unlimited email, and they've got this incredible search engine that's simple without all these ads and everything like Yahoo was. But as we've come to learn over the years, that company has basically turned you into its product and is continuing to be in the news and make headlines for the things that it's doing, not only with its email and browsers, but also with its phones as well, which we'll get into. So the first thing you're going to have to break yourself of is stop using Google. Stop using google.com. I know people are going to say, oh, you're on YouTube. That's a Google product. There are times where you're going to still have to use their products, but I'm going to tell you how to utilize them safely at times until there are other alternatives out there. And when those alternatives come out there, we need to support the heck out of them. But DuckDuckGo is an amazing, amazing search engine. It is privacy-based. They do what Google should do. There's nothing wrong with making money. I have no problem with Google making money off selling ads. The problem is when they try to metadata grab everything they can about me to sell those ads. Well, what DuckDuckGo does instead, and if you want to know if a company's truly private, follow the money trail. So the first thing I did when I was researching them is follow the money trail. Well, how are they getting their money? Well, they still get ads, but it's based on what you search for. If I search for laundry detergent, I'm going to get generically a laundry detergent ad. I'm okay with that. No problem at all. There's no privacy, no private information being gathered. It's just a simple them trying to make money off of things that I'm searching for. And it's not personalized to me other than what I put into that search. And then we're done. Our transaction is over with each other. And that's exactly what you want. So DuckDuckGo is a fantastic, fantastic search engine. It has 99.9% of every search that I need equivalent to Google. There are times where you may have to open google.com because maybe you're searching for something so specific and Google has it indexed better. There are times where I've seen that happen specifically with more support related stuff and things like that. But just a quick look into DuckDuckGo. I'm going to tell you how to circumvent that. Is they're setting a new standard of trust online, empowering people to take control of their information. You deserve privacy. Companies are making money off your private information online without your consent. At DuckDuckGo, we don't think internet should feel so creepy. So this kind of tells you a little about it. 22 billion searches, 55 employees. They've been funded, lots of private funding and things in there. In a mission, too many people believe that simply can't expect privacy on the internet. They disagree. This is kind of the big fight that's out there forever. But in the end, this is a group of people who are fighting for your privacy. They make money, but they do it ethically, and awesome, awesome company. So change your main web browser where you land to. Instead of Google, change it to DuckDuckGo. Utilize this. If you have to use Google, then you need to utilize something called containers and other things that we'll talk about here, which leads me to number 2. Stop using Chrome. Chrome is a Google product. Most of us, as we were getting into the internet when Google Chrome came out, we were all excited about this. It was super fast. It was efficient, especially compared to any other browser out there. It's still very fast. Firefox has been out for a long time. A lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth with Firefox because while they were always on that privacy-centric focus for a while, Firefox browser was kind of slow. It was just slow and it kind of crept along. But nowadays, when Quantum came out, everything shifted. Firefox, in many cases, is not only as good as Chrome, but it's faster and it's privacy-centric open source project out there, which means everybody can go out there, look at the code, and make sure that the company's staying ethical. This is what you don't get from other companies out there. So switch from Chrome to Firefox. That's whether you're in Windows, Linux, it doesn't matter. You have Firefox for your phone, for your iPhone, for your Android. Use Firefox and you're going to be much, much happier, and your data is going to be a lot more private on what you're searching for. So these are not hard things. Download Firefox, install it, make DuckDuckGo your default search engine. So those are 2 steps right there that you can take to stop the data collecting madness. So one of the things that Firefox offers, there are many things it offers for the privacy and security, but one of the things I love the most that I think is very easy is to add an extension. You can get extensions out here. You can see you have ad blockers, LastPass, feed readers, all of that stuff. But you can add extensions in here for what they call containers. And what these containers do is they keep, basically, if you log into, say, Twitter and Facebook and Google, they can all, grab information about where you're going after you leave them and all of this type of stuff. They can see all your other browsing activity. When you put it into a container, it can only see the activity within that container. So if I put my Facebook in a container and I put my Google in a container, then those two are only going to see each other. They're not going to see each other because they're separated in a container. The only way they'd see each other is if they were not containerized. So it's a very simple process. I'm going to show you how to do it with Mastodon, for instance. I have a lot of containers set up. And what you'll see here is it says you've already assigned it a container. Do I want to open it in that social container that I put it in and remember my decision for the site so I don't see this prompt every time? So once I go in and I install that extension for containers, and we could go to add-ons and you can see some of my extensions here. Firefox multi-account containers is the extension that you're looking for here. I also have DuckDuckGo Privacy Essentials, a screenshot tool that I don't need, probably get rid of. Plasma integration, some others that I've had on there. But in any case, another tip there is add an ad blocker in as well, which can help with some privacy stuff. But this Firefox multi-account container, It's just an add-on. You'll see it up here. And then when you go to a site like Mastodon, you could click up here and you could say always open in that default container, and it will always open it there. And what you'll notice is it doesn't it's not going to have, this is filling in because of LastPass, which is password manager, but you're going to notice that it's not going to have your sign in credentials from your other tabs. So this is a really, really cool way of staying private and separating your data for those who are like, I have to have, this social account, because we know those social accounts can cause a lot of privacy issues as well. Then definitely containerize it along with some of these other options. You could take some of these ideas, mix them all together. If you did them all, you're going to be far more private than you were. And there are other things you could do, like I said, again, on top of this, but these are very easy things to do. A VPN. A VPN is one of the things that I tell everybody go out and get. It's very inexpensive. They're not expensive at all to get connected. And it protects your data tremendously because it's encrypting everything that leaves your computer. So instead of just setting up a simple proxy, which may, protect the data as you're browsing the web, if any of my programs are calling out, and this is especially important if you're on Windows 10, because Windows 10 phones home and pulls private data from you as well. If you have a VPN in there, at least this is encrypting all of the stuff that you're doing so that the information that's being pulled from your computer, all they're seeing on the other side is zeros and ones. Very, very, very cool option. Super easy to set up. You can just go up here in, for instance, in Linux, and you install it, and I can connect. I can, to different places around the world. A lot of people use it to get around firewalls and stuff like that as well. But for the most part, it's keeping everything on my computer encrypted, the data that's sending, and keeping it from my ISP, because your ISP could be pulling information from you as well. Yes, everybody thinks your data is important, but apparently most people don't think their data is important, but the companies certainly do. So in any case, $69.95 for 2 years of this stuff. I mean, ridiculously cheap, and you get so much for it. And PIA, one of the great things about them is there are a lot of VPN providers out there, but there are very few that have been tested and passed all of those tests. And what I mean is there are several times where PIA VPN has been taken to court, and the courts have ordered them to provide records of people who utilize their service, and their answer is always the same. We don't have any. We don't keep records. We don't have any, even through court orders. They have nothing to give anybody. So there you go. I did want to bring up Lifehacker is one of those sites I just love. And some people were like, well, why should I believe you, YouTuber? Well, don't believe me. Look at the stuff that I'm saying here is definitely things that I hope you'll do your own research on, and even find more information and bring it back to the channel. Maybe you could help me even learn to be more private as well. But they suggest as well in Lifehacker, in most every site, that Firefox has always been touted as the best browser for privacy. It's open source. It's managed by a nonprofit. It's just a fantastic option out there. Now, they do collect some information, not as much as Google, obviously. But some of the information is pretty standard information that a browser or company would have to grab out there. I don't consider it privacy invasive. But again, if you utilize the tools, all this in combination with each other, they're not going to get much from you, if anything at all either. But Firefox is a really good company. It's the most privacy-centric browser out there. Now let's talk about password managers. This is one where even really smart, intelligent geek people still mess this up to this day. I still have friends that are very technical that still use 1 password, maybe 3 passwords. They can be even complex passwords, but they use them for every site, the same 3 passwords. This is a fatal error in today's complexity of hacking and getting into people's information. You want to have a password manager because you want every site to have a different password. This way, if you're compromised, even if you click a link, you're feeling stupid one day, you're tired, you didn't have your coffee, you click on an email link, it takes you to some site, you don't realize it's a spoof site, you log in it, you've only compromised that one account because they're going to go and try to find your banks and everything else and use that same password. And for the most part, they're very successful with that. Use a password manager, have separate passwords for everything. You can use LastPass, which is kind of what most people know. You can use something like BitWarden. which is an open source variant, which is very, very popular as well. They all have very similar features. You can have them on your phone. You can have them on your desktop as well. So you have your passwords with you everywhere. Couple with this two-factor authentication. You should be turning on two-factor authentication for everything. What is two-factor authentication? It basically gives you can download an app for two-factor authentication on your phone. It gives you randomized codes that, along with your password, you use to log into these sites. Generally, you only have to type them in every 30 days. Generally, most sites will say, do you want to trust this computer for 30 days? You say yes. So it's not that annoying. It's not that difficult. And it's that extra barrier if somebody does get your stuff. They grab your password. They try to log in. They don't have that two-factor authentication because it's a different computer. It's going to prompt them for that code. They don't have access to it. Very much more difficult, not impossible for them to get into your stuff. Additionally, if you want to take it the next step, you could get a hardware-based two-factor authentication tool like YubiKey here, which requires that physical key to be plugged in. Some of these keys have the ability to simply touch it to your phone, and it will unlock the passwords and things like that. You could see you got a little hole in the keychain there. You could put it on a little necklace, have it as geek swag. You'll look cool. Plus, you'll be more safe. I have a YubiKey as well. So this is a great way of keeping yourself safe. Now, nothing I cover here is 100% foolproof. There are people who've hacked two-factor authentications. There are people who've hacked people who use different passwords for every site. There are people who hack everything. But at the end of the day, who are you going to target if you're a hacker? Somebody who basically employs no security at all and uses the same password for every site, my mom 1981 or whatever it is. And who are you going to attack, them or the person who's got two-factor authentication set up, VPNs, password protect, all this stuff? Obviously, you're going to go for the easy one that you can grab their information. Super simple. Protonmail. So a lot of times people are like, hey, there's no other good email services out there but Gmail. That's why I still use Google Gmail. Complete hogwash. The best email service out there, period. I've been using them for well over a year, is Protonmail. You can have an app. It's got a web version. You can even set it up for your clients on your desktop. End-to-end encryption, anonymous, easy to use, completely open source. It's based in Switzerland, which has fantastic privacy laws out there. So in any case, this is a much better option than Gmail. You can get a free account and then you could pay if you need more space and some of the other perks that they have, but it's very inexpensive to have this. And listen, the reason why you're not paying for those other services aren't because they're free, but because they're gaining things from you utilizing it. They're gaining your personal information. This one always shocks me the most because I know so many geek YouTubers, right? People who run technology channels on YouTube who use Gmail, and people who talk about privacy and security all the time or utilize very private platforms like Linux and still use things like Gmail and Facebook. Blows my mind. But what specifically blows my mind about the Gmail stuff is if somebody goes into your mailbox and they start going into your mail, it's a federal crime because the mail that's coming to you, that physical mail, was seen at one point in our grandparents' generations as so private, right? Your bank statements, car loan information, taxes, all of this stuff, that it became a federal crime to go and mess with somebody's mail. Now, email has taken the place of our physical mail for the most part. And you have more private things coming to your email probably in greater bulk too than you do in your mailbox. But people don't care that companies are going through and scrounging through their emails, pulling out metadata. And basically employees of Google and other things potentially having access, or other email services having access to that information. Maybe they're high-ranking individuals within the company, but they could still go through and target your information, get your information, see it, and unencrypt it from the server side. Also the hacking vulnerabilities and everything else. It amazes me that we don't think about email when it has more important information than probably what you're getting in your mailbox as an important thing to secure and not just to give to any company for free. So paying for things is a good way to following a money trail. How does the company make money? I pay them They give me an inbox. I use it. They stay the heck out of it. This is encrypted. You'll only have a password, but you'll have an encryption password that you'll have to use to decrypt your mailbox to be able to see it. And that is what you want to utilize for something this private. Someone who just bought a home recently, all of the information that you have to give to these companies and things and the emails that they send you, you want it going to a secure site. You do not want your information sitting out there in an account that could be compromised there. So use Protonmail. Switch to Linux. Listen, I got to say it. You guys saw I switched to Linux 2.5 years ago. Couldn't be happier. Windows 10 metadata grabbing junk. That's, again, follow the money trail when they're going out there trying to get everybody in mass to upgrade to Windows 10 for free. And we're like, yay. There was a catch to that, right? They had to get their money somehow. And, of course, that was getting people's data and turning off those privacy settings and things that you can do in Windows 10. Great that you can pause it if you can find all of them. But also every time I had done an update back when I was Windows 10, it would switch them all back randomly. So you've got that problem to deal with as well. If you're on Windows as well, make sure you're using virus protection suite as well. WebRoot seems to be one of the better ones out there. If you're on Linux, there are some free like ClamAV and things that you can use, but for the most part, you're not going to really have to worry about that stuff. It's not like it's virus free, but it's just not really an issue at all. The social network thing, listen, I've beat this drum to death on Destination Linux and everywhere else. These social networks are the worst of the worst. Google's just gone ahead and shut down Google Plus because they know where this is all going with the Facebook situation here recently, where it's just every single day there's more of your data being found out to be violated by Facebook, including the fact that they have, given the options, at least the companies had the abilities, according to certain sources, to go in there and even look at your private photos and other stuff. This is not just Facebook, but other companies having access now. They're all claiming, well, we didn't do it. We may have had access, but we didn't, that type of stuff. But it's so bad. And people are like, well, I don't post anything on Facebook and all this stuff. Facebook spends an enormous amount of resources figuring out how to get to your data. If you think just because you post, the only post you ever put on Facebook is you like ice cream and that's all they know about you, you are sadly mistaken. They are pulling data from every friend that you have, every person, every time they mention you, your location, especially if you have it on your phone and things like that. Every time you log into it, where you're at, where you go afterwards, what sites you visit, they know everything about you and then some. Your best bet is to delete it. At the very least, get a VPN, containerize it, make sure you log out when you're done every time, and all these other things you'd have to do is better just to get rid of it because you don't need it. If they're your friends, they will follow you to a more secure platform like Mastodon, which is a fantastic decentralized open source social network that you can utilize. That's kind of like Twitter. Stop using Instagram and all this crap out there. It is nothing but the whole purpose of these sites is to gain your information and to take your privacy away. The executives of these companies want privacy. There's a fantastic documentary about this on Facebook. Zuckerberg did not like being recorded out in the street, but he's happy to do it to any of his customers and all this stuff. And you've seen the Congress kind of talking to him, which was a sad affair. Congress just not really being up to date on technology as they should have been for the first one, but it seems like they're really starting to pick up on this. California's passing some privacy laws. There are some things happening which are at least could help with this, but just know that if you can, stop using Facebook. Just stop using Facebook. Use Twitter if you have to. Stop using Facebook. Twitter still grabs some data, but nobody's doing it like Facebook. Nobody. Stop using Facebook. Use something like Mastodon. Use Telegram. Telegram is a fantastic ability. We talk to our Destination Linux fans, and there's the DasGeek channel. I have my private Telegram just for patrons where you can talk to me at any time. Telegram's a fantastic way to keep up with people. There are plenty of options out there that are more safe and secure, but make sure, like, if you look at Instagram and WhatsApp and others, they're all owned by Facebook. So stay away from all of those mainstream ones. Like I said, if they're your real friends, then they're going to follow you wherever the conversation is, wherever you go. Tell them, look, I'm not going to be on Facebook anymore. Hit me up on Telegram. Here's my Telegram ID. Can't wait to see you there. If they don't follow you, probably not your friend anyway. So what are you losing? Stop downloading random things, right? Don't go into your email and click on Bank of America says your account is negative $12,000. You're like, oh my gosh, I had 15,000 in there. How did that happen? Don't click the link in there. These spoofing sites are more advanced than ever. They can make it look exactly like a Bank of America site. In fact, they can make it go to the Bank of America site after you give the credentials to the spoof site, so you don't even realize anything's wrong. They have pop-ups and things, which is why an ad blocker is a good idea, that will come up on certain spoof sites that look like a login ID that pops up maybe once you go back to the real Bank of America. They're so advanced. So if you see an email like that, great, delete it. Go and type in the URL manually and go to the site and log in, or call them and figure out the situation if it's legitimate or not. But do not click links in emails. Do not give passwords out in emails. Stop clicking random links on the internet. Go to places that you know are safe. This is just general stuff here. I mean, because you'll hear most security-minded people saying the best way to stay secure is from having somebody who's security-minded individual, meaning you're thinking about this stuff. You're not doing stupid things online, because no matter what you have, you follow all these steps. You're just clicking random links and downloading random things. None of this is going to help you. You're still going to get compromised. Stop giving your information to everyone. So this is a new one that I've added, and I've put it into play in my personal life. My wife has put it into play. And it's stop giving your information where you go. So when you go to a store, they're like, what's your zip code? What's your email address? So you're going and you're buying something like, I don't know, you're buying a phone. And you go to the store and they're like, okay, great. Before I can ring you out, or you're buying soap at Bath and Body Works, and they're like, what's your email address? No. Oh, well, we send coupons there. Great, keep them. And they move on. They don't stop and like, well, we can't complete this transaction. We can't take your money. They just move on. When they ask your phone number, no, thank you. You'd be nice about it. Always be polite, but no, thank you. No. Stop giving your information out to everybody that asks for it. Everybody's asking for it. You can say no. If they don't want your money, too bad for them. Go to the next store that will take it. But I've yet to have a single person go, well, we can't finish the transaction. And some look shocked, like, oh my God, nobody's ever told me no. But they always take your information. And here's the interesting thing about this. Even when you go to a doctor's office, they ask for your social security number. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen the systems that doctors' offices and things employ to protect your data, meaning I've seen them and there's nothing there at all. So very, very little. Let's be fair. Some of them probably do better than others. But I'm not going to trust the doctor's office to have my social security number. You don't need this to complete the transaction. I'm giving you my insurance number, giving you my name. You don't need my social security number. So I leave it blank. And I've been to the doctors so many times because of my daughter being ill and other things that we can't count, but I've never put it on there. And they've never come back and said, oh my gosh, sir, if you don't fill this out. They're used to it. They know that it's not even worth their time. Not one has ever questioned it, saying, well, you didn't. They don't even ask why you didn't fill it out. Just leave it blank. Don't give them your social. Don't write your social on everything. Don't give it out to everybody. This is a major, major no-no. Stop giving your email address, phone numbers, all this stuff to these stores. You don't need it. You can get that $5 coupon just searching for $5 off at the store anyways. It's nothing special. Trust me. So stop doing that. Android devices. This will be our last one here. I've talked about this in nauseum before. Listen, Android by itself is a fantastic operating system. I absolutely love so many things about it. I was in love with Android before I was ever in love with iPhone. And I'm not really in love with any of them at this point, but Google's take on Android, the Google products that you buy, your Samsung phones, your HTC phones, all of this stuff that is Google Android on it, are nothing but data grabbing monstrosities. They have no privacy focus on them at all. There's all this news coming out. This shouldn't be a mystery to anybody. You turn off your GPS, it's still tracking you. The app's permission system within Google Android is horrific. You could certainly root the device and put another OS on it, but I think that's more for an advanced user. For your everyday user, out of the two options that are available today, without rooting a device, just going in, buying a phone, Apple iPhone is far more secure, far more privacy focused than the Google Android. Neither of them are fantastic. Apple makes its money namely on hardware. Google makes its money mainly on your data. So while Apple does phone home for a little bit of information, they've just been proven over and over again to be far, far more privacy focused and having things like encryption in your messaging and stuff from years ago, which I don't know, one of the 6 Google messaging services finally have encryption. Who knows? Maybe they finally did it. If it's not in beta or done away with, or new ones coming out or whatever they're doing, because they constantly just re-release the same app under a different name. But in any case, I highly recommend you go iPhone over Android. I'm not a fanboy of either. I wish there was a third player here. And you can check out my Ubuntu Touch video if you are done with both of those options and want to try something else. Also, there's Librem phone out there, Librem, which you can check out, which is a Kickstarter and will be launching next year, which is a heavily privacy-focused device and operating system on that device that you can utilize. But for the two big options available today and the easiest for everyday user, go grab yourself an iPhone. So I know we've covered a lot here. This is a long video, but if you break it down, it's really simple. Don't be stupid. Don't download and click links and all of that stuff. Basically, get off the Google products. Go to DuckDuckGo, utilize Protonmail, use another service for storage and things like that. If you have to use those services for something, containerize them within Firefox as your main browser. Use a VPN, use a password manager, use Protonmail. Switch to Linux. Stop using social sites like Facebook. Use something like Mastodon, Telegram instead. You'll be happy you did, and switch. Don't give your information out to people, and currently use an iPhone, but be on the lookout for a third player and support them when they hit the market. Or if you're a little more tech oriented, go check out Ubuntu Touch. That's my video, ways you could stay private. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below. Tell me some things that I missed. I love when the community goes in there and they're like, hey, here's some other options for people to do as well, because I can't cover every single item in the video. And there may be even things I don't know about that you do. So add those down in the comments below so people can see those and take them under consideration. The reality is all of the stuff I talked about, it'll take you 15, 20 minutes to set up if you're not tech oriented at all, maybe 30, 35 minutes, but then you'll be done. Your total investment here would be under $50, and you will be far more private and secure than you've ever been before. So until next time, stay private. Your information matters. Keep it secure and fill your brains.
Don't get this far.